The other one we've mentioned, and you just mentioned how it's kind of a Ponzi scheme, is MicroStrategy. But I mean, at this point, is MicroStrategy a buy? What do you think about that?
I don't own any MicroStrategy, but I think it's done very well. Saylor claims that he has outperformed Bitcoin. Um, I think it's performing very well. I think it's a smart way to use leverage to buy more Bitcoin. I don't think Saylor is very good at timing his Bitcoin buys. I've seen him buy at, very high prices, but it's not an investment for me, especially at, the price of its shares. I'm more interested in the spot ETFs, but right now, I think there is a higher return on investment with altcoins. So, like I said with the logarithmic chart, over time, Bitcoin has diminishing returns. So, I don't think this, especially right now, buying at 70,000 and selling at 120,000, you're not even doubling your money. So, it does not make too much sense if my prediction is true and we peak at 120K. But I think there are a lot of altcoins that are going to rally like crazy. And so I'm more interested in those. As far as I'm not too interested in Bitcoin stocks, but I know that you are. I think Bitcoin miners have surprised me a lot. So I was actually going to enter the Bitcoin mining business many years ago. And when I was researching it, it just sounded like a terrible business to be in, especially as new, better miners come out. You have to, reinvest in new inventory. It costs a lot of electricity to run them. Things can go wrong. You're not really guaranteed to successfully mine Bitcoin. You have so much competition. So I never looked at mining as a great business. I think after the halving, there are a lot of questions, at least for me, whether miners can be profitable. The mining reward. So far, I think it's been fine, but cutting the Bitcoin in half numerous times over, it's just become harder and harder to successfully mine Bitcoin. And with diminishing returns, I think what we saw is a lot of miners raised money right before the halving. They diluted their investors. I believe Riot. I think Marathon raised money too, actually. So I'm not very bullish on miners, but I've been very surprised how well they've been performing. My brother-in-law, the Bitcoin Maxi, he's bullish on Marathon. He has some options on Marathon. I believe it's Leaps, but I don't know. I'm not interested in miners, but how do you feel about miners?
Yeah, I think you make some good points there. I think, like you say, it is definitely a very hard business to be in. I think near the lows, I think a lot of the miners in valuation perspective were looking quite good. And on the other hand, and I had a conversation with a fellow essay contributor, Mike Fay, and this was back when, kind of Bitcoin was getting towards the 70K before this kind of little sell-off. And that's when we saw the miners peak. And, he very aptly said, look, now you look at the valuation and it's not enticing, and he actually, disclosed he was selling a big part of his position. But at the same time, I think there's basically, I think there's definitely some good miners out there even now. I mean, we had a bit of a pullback, which was, I think, definitely viable when you had, stuff like CleanSpark, go back to about $15. And, at the same time, I think it's a little bit like we were saying with other stocks, there's trading and there's fundamentals, and you need a bit of both. And I do think that obviously there's a lot of momentum that, obviously I think if Bitcoin, as we think, is going to go to at least 100, 150K, I'd be very surprised if a lot of the miners don't, at least perform well. And, I think there's an argument to be made that they'll perform even a little bit better. But
You think they will perform better than Bitcoin?
Yeah, I think so. Just historically, I think, if you see the price action, that's just how it tends to happen. I think there's there's a bit more, the hype gets built around a bit more, and just, I don't know, maybe it's short squeezes, maybe it's a bit of the options play coming in, all the speculation. It's a bit easier maybe for people, although that's changed now a little bit, but a bit easier to speculate. And so I do think that the valuations can get out of whack again, let's say, and therefore I think the price can outperform Bitcoin, I think. But it's very interesting what you mentioned about the altcoins, and I do think now is also a very good time to maybe, it's very interesting. I wrote a piece yesterday about obviously we're talking about Ethereum and the Ethereum ETF, which of course led to that big rally in ETH, which is the Grayscale Ethereum Trust. Obviously, it closed that big discount window that it had, which was obviously a great trade for anyone who owned it. Luckily, I do have a little exposure to that, so that was pretty neat. But I think now we're definitely approaching a time where I think Ethereum and the altcoins are definitely up for another out season. So I think it's a good time to pick some of those up. In my recent article, I actually shared a couple charts which I thought were definitely quite interesting. If we look, for example, here. So this chart, and full disclosure, I took this from X, from Twitter. We can see it here a little bit bigger, although not great quality. But so this is back in 2017, and we can see up here the Bitcoin price. At the moment when it just breaks above its previous cycle highs, and then below this we see the Bitcoin dominance coming down. Of course, that means the Bitcoin dominance coming down is reflective of an out season, right? More of the crypto market cap is in the altcoins, which means the altcoins are outperforming. And we saw that happen just as we broke, for example, back above the previous cycle highs in 2017. And, again in 2020, kind of a bit like almost like clockwork. Once, it entered that kind of phase of exponential explosion just above the highs, it happened again. So again, there's an argument to be made that that's where we are right now. So that we're here, right? And that's the right chart. Well, anyway, I don't have the chart here, but there's an argument to be made that we're at a similar point now, right? With Bitcoin. I mean, we did break above the previous highs, but we haven't quite exploded to the upside yet. So, but there's an argument to be made that once we do, get that final rally up, that we'll definitely see some of the altcoins begin to outperform Ethereum too, I believe, and of course, some very interesting altcoins out there for investors to pick up at this point, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I've studied Bitcoin and the crypto markets. I've spent a lot of time studying the charts. With altcoins, there tends to be two waves. So around the end of the Bitcoin cycle, which I believe will be around September 2025, altcoins will go on a complete tear around then as well. So it tends to be two waves. But like you said, right now, I believe we're entering some type of alt season. And I think we can connect all the dots with an Ethereum ETF getting approved, Ethereum and altcoins going on a run. And then I think the prices that you see now with altcoins, you're not going to see them again, probably ever, unless they're very bad altcoins. But as long as you invest in some solid ones, I don't think you'll ever see these prices again. If everything plays out like the last cycle, which is a big if. You do have to remember that the SEC has pending lawsuits accusing many of these altcoins of being securities. So we still have some unfinished business. We still have a lawsuit with Coinbase. So the situation has always been tricky. Like this cycle is very, you can't find any guarantees with anything. You have to stay adaptable and stay flexible, because if something happens with the SEC with some of these altcoins, you could potentially have to exit the market if things start to U-turn. So I'm always staying on edge, but at the same time, I want to profit from this altcoin cycle and this rally. But I think we go on a run, like you said, and I think we go on a second larger run again around September of 2025. And with what you said with miners, it does seem like there is a lot of upside. like Clean Spark's previous all-time high is around $150, and we're trading around $20. That's a really decent return on investment compared to Bitcoin, which might not even double in price at this current price. So I do agree with you. I've just never been bullish. I like to invest in what I believe in. So if it's not something I believe in, if it's not a business model I believe in, I'd rather stay away from it, even if there's money to be made. There's plenty of opportunities. I'm curious, which altcoins are you very bullish on right now?
Well, there's a couple that I really like. ThorChain is one that I've really liked for a long time. I did an in-depth report about that a long time ago, and it's definitely one that I really like. Basically, the ticker, so to speak, is Rune, and basically ThorChain, what it does, it acts as a bridge between blockchains. So of course, that is a big limitation. With all the altcoins, obviously, kind of transacting in between them and trying to create certain protocols in between blockchains is very difficult. And basically, ThorChain acts as a bridge, as a liquidity pool across all these networks. And I think to that extent, it has a real good utility. In fact, and because you can actually like stake different coins on it, and then you can see it. You go to their exchanges and ThorSwap, as they call it, and it's definitely a very useful tool, and I think it is going to keep growing definitely as the ecosystem grows. And it's had a pretty good rally. I mean, I think it bottomed out around a little under $2, went all the way up to about 15. Now or a little bit 13. Now it trades at about $7. So I mean, the momentum is definitely there. I think people know it, people like it, and that is definitely one that I'm very interested in. I quite liked Ocean at one point. Little bit less bullish on it now. I thought that was kind of interesting in terms of what they're doing.
But Ocean is merging with
right, exactly. Yeah.
Thing. Yeah. So if you look at the stages of AI, so we are entering the stage of AGI, artificial general intelligence. I think this merger is. I think this merger.
My charger.
Oh, okay. I think this merger is one step ahead. So you have different stages, AGI, and the next stage is artificial superintelligence. So I've always been bullish on SingularityNet since I would say 2017, 2018, but they were too early. Back then was way too early. The AI hype wasn't there. It sounded very freakish, actually. It was, creating artificial general intelligence, because you have AI learning from each other and basically becoming similar to a human because they have general intelligence. They can do multiple different things. But the next stage is going to be artificial superintelligence, ASI is going to be the next stage of AI. I think they are years ahead of their competition. I think SingularityNet has one of the smartest teams in the world. I think they have that global connection that we've talked about with Palantir. They're connected in the Middle East, Europe, United States, I believe in Asia as well. So they have a lot of connections, a lot of networks, but I'm very bullish on them. The one criticism I've had of them, of SingularityNet, is they weren't doing enough marketing. Like they're focused so much on the product that they're not taking the time to hype it up to drive the price up. Instead, you have these other shit coins that are doing all the marketing, like crypto.com arena. Their product is complete trash. I've used their app before. It doesn't even let me set a buy price. When I went to buy, I couldn't even set a limit price to buy. It just gave me a random price and it charged me like 10 to 15% extra. So it was a complete trash product, but you have all this hype. They partnered with the UFC, I'm in LA, so they replaced the Staples Center with the crypto.com arena. So I alwawas wanted them to do more marketing. So I'm really pumped with this announcement because first, I think uh, Singularity Net is gaining all that attention because of the AI hype. And I think they've been focused so much on the product. Have you heard of the Sophia bot?
Yes. Yeah, I've seen it in action. The humanoid robot.
Yeah. So I think they are years ahead of the game. Um, I'm excited to see what they do. But my vision for ASI, I think they will be the top AI crypto project. And I think they're likely to be included in the crypto version of an S&P down the road. And I think they will continue to acquire more AI projects over the next few years, maybe Render or some of the other AI projects. The one thing I didn't like is that they were on the Ethereum network because I thought Ethereum was performing very poorly. But I think now I became more bullish on Ethereum the last week with all the new hype around the ETF. I
Mm.
think Ethereum was really struggling. Solana was dominating, in terms of ROI. And I think there was a narrative of Solana starting to take some market shares from Ethereum. But I think there is some new hype around Ethereum. Fetch, to me, is not all that impressive, but I think it is in line with the AI narrative. And I think Fetch it's got a history with Binance. I think it has some important people investing in it because of Binance, because it was launched under Binance. But I think they will do some very big things. I think after this merger, which is going to happen this week, I believe, in a few days, I'm excited to see what the price looks like, and things like that. But long term, I'm definitely very bullish. Like I
So,
said, I think if we create something like an S&P for crypto,
mhm.
I think it will make the cut. And I think all of those altcoins that end up joining that S&P, whatever it ends up being called, um, I think they will
Hmm.
be the best investment right now.
Awesome. And I'm actually a bit curious because you like Solana a lot, and personally, I've always had a bit of a love-hate relationship with it because, of course, you can't argue with the price action, but then, obviously there was that big sell-off with the FTX, and just in general, I mean, the network does have a history of it's had a few outages, and kind of on the other side of the spectrum, I would say, where Solana has done a lot of marketing, in my opinion, but maybe it was focusing a bit less on its core product, but it's done very well this cycle, and I think you're quite bullish. Obviously, you've got to own some at this point. I do. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, you say it's been taking some market share from Ethereum. Do you think that's something that's going to continue?
Yes, I think so. I think Solana actually has great tech. I think this cycle, meme coins are completely dominating. They have been the best performing cryptos. And I think Solana meme coins are very hot. I think anything on Solana is outperforming anything on Ethereum. You
Yeah.
also have to look at it from a life cycle perspective. Ethereum is older. It already had its gains. I bought Ethereum at $80 in previous cycles. I believe it was, I would say, 2019.
Hmm.
So you have to look at it as cycles. Solana has more growth potential, and investors recognize that. And it's safer. I also think all the negative publicity was a blessing for Solana because there are different levels of marketing. Um, if you're familiar with sports, do you watch any UFC?
Not often, but I'm starting to get into it a little bit, but not that often.
Okay, I'm sure you've heard of Conor McGregor.
Hmm.
So his level of popularity is mainstream. Him and Ronda Rousey have mainstream popularity. Pretty much everyone in the world knows who they are. You have others that are popular, but within an MMA community, within MMA fans. With Connor, you'll have parents who know about them, girlfriends who don't even watch the sport that know about them, and things like that. There's different levels of popularity. And this applies with Solana. You have a global, and the same with XRP. Unfortunately, XRP, I don't know what is happening there. I think maybe it was a scam from the beginning or something is happening there. But Solana had insane amount of marketing, although it was negative publicity, but you have so many eyes around the world with this lawsuit. You have mainstream news, you have stock investors, gold investors that know about Sam Bankman-Fried, that know about Solana. Some of them might not even know much about other altcoins, but that put Solana right up there with Bitcoin, Ethereum, and now Solana, because you have so many cryptos. For a new investor, how are you going to know which ones are good and which ones are bad? You go on YouTube, there are, thousands of channels talking about all these different cryptos. Solana got that publicity, and a lot of people thought it was dead. It's clearly not dead. It's been performing extremely well during this cycle. And the TrendSpider team is very bullish on the tech. They have an understanding of how the tech works. They use the tech and they recognize it's got superior tech. So Solana will be around and it will continue to do very well. I think this cycle, I don't know how high we can go, but I'd imagine it can go probably above $1,000. But it's already gone on a pretty insane run. I think, as we discussed with ETFs, I think Solana can be included in ETFs and all that stuff. And you have to think about the potential of, Solana continuing to build and continuing to evolve. I'm not sure how many years did Sam Bankman-Fried receive. Was it 25?
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think he will come out of prison and run it again. I don't know. I don't know if I see that vision, but let's say they get hypothetically another like CEO that people love and they continue to evolve. I think they have really great tech, but right now Solana is performing very well because of meme coins, which is a joke to the typical investor, the pragmatic investor like yourself. But meme coins that's the best performing asset right now in crypto.
Absolutely.
So I think
just to connect, quite the opposite. As a pragmatic investor, I don't judge. If meme coins are doing well, I'm happy to jump on and get on it, right? I mean, at the end of the day, we're here to make money. I'm not going to judge how you do it as long as it works.